Let's get to Matt Boyle. He's the political editor of Breitbart News. You can follow Matt. Go to Breitbart.com. Also download their app. It's a must-read. I go there first thing every day. I was mad at them for a while because of the Steve Bannon thing, but now Steve's gone on to other things. And Breitbart, back to my source for news. That's because of Matt Boyle, and he's with us now. Matt, good to have you with us back from vacation in Louisiana. I hope you ate some good Louisiana cooking down there.
Oh, yeah, we had a lot of good stuff. I love New Orleans. It's one of my favorite cities in the country. So
I know you had a good time. Let's get to the Senate primary in Virginia. Corey Stewart beating back a very stiff challenge by Nick Freitas. At one point last night, we thought Freitas was going to win. He had a 6,000 vote lead heading into Northern Virginia. We knew Corey would win his home county of Prince William by about maybe 4,000, which he did. We didn't expect a massive trouncing of Freitas by Corey in Fairfax. He killed him, beat him by, I think, 5,000 votes or something. Nobody saw that coming. Now Stewart going up against Tim Kaine. He's going to be outspent, 25-1. What do you make of it?
Yeah, well, look, I think that you hit the nail on the head right there with the really strong numbers that Corey Stewart had in Northern Virginia. Is kind of an inverse of where he was in the primary last year in the governor's race with Ed Gillespie. Ed Gillespie obviously went on to lose by 8 points in the general election last year. But I think that's a strong thing for Corey Stewart walking into the general election. He's going to need Republicans, Libertarians from all different points of view to unite behind him as he goes into the general election here in a real battle with, a titan in the Democrat Party. I mean, Tim Kaine was obviously Hillary Clinton's running mate in 2016. They lost, but he still maintains an enormous amount of power and influence and connections to donor class and so on and so forth. I don't necessarily know how close this is going to be in November. You're right, he's going to be outspent a significant amount, and the hope is that the party will unite behind Stewart's campaign for Stewart's sake and for the movement's sake. But Virginia is a tough state to win for Republicans at this point. I mean, that's just the hard, cold truth reality of it. But if Stewart runs a true Trumpian populist type campaign, I think Trump came within about 5 points of beating Hillary in Virginia, and that was with Kaine on the ticket as her running mate. Maybe there's a chance here, and so we'll see what happens in November. This is going to be, I think, a potential for a surprise upset on the Democrat side. There's a lot of other races across the country that are probably going to be more competitive and closely followed, but this is one that I think could go. If it's a really, really good night for Republicans on November 6th, I think it's one of the ones that could be a surprise win against the Democrats, especially because Tim Kaine is so out of touch with the people. He's such a, open borders, globalist Democrat who pushes the donor classes and Wall Street's agenda and not Main Street's agenda. So there's an opportunity for Stewart to really draw a major contrast between him and Tim Kaine, especially on issues like immigration and trade. And so hopefully he's able to do that, and we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be one of those ones that we keep a very close eye on, especially in the early going.
Well, Matt, one of the things that you have to congratulate Corey Stewart on is, his base of voters in Prince William County, which is a Northern Virginia suburb where he has been a supervisor and a chairman for some time. It's now quite blue. But, his county sticks with him. Whatever he does there, they love Corey Stewart. I mean, he rolled up big majority. Not only did he roll up big percentages, but he got people out. So once Prince William County came in, and he basically wiped out Nick Freitas' 6,000 vote lead, wiped it out.
Freitas ran a stronger campaign than I expected, too.
Yes.
I thought it was going to be a lot bigger of a win for Corey Stewart than it was. But the fact of the matter is that I think that goes to show the people that know Corey Stewart the best like him, and they vote for him. And so if he can get to those voters across the state of Virginia and get them to know him, and, again, you mentioned that Prince William County has gone very blue. If he can get that message out to swing voters that turned those voters back his way, then, and he's a Republican. He's a hardcore anti-establishment Republican. If he can do that across the state of Virginia, he might have a chance here. This could be an outside chance. And that's what I'm saying. It's one to watch very closely. The question is, can Stewart get to those people before Tim Kaine and his money, attack him and falsely define him?
Well, we'll see. Corey Stewart's going to get outspent. I mean, he raised $800,000. Tim Kaine, and he spent it all. Tim Kaine has $10 million to start. He'll probably raise another $15. He'll have $25 million. Corey will get about $1.5 million, maybe $2 million max. So, I mean, that is a huge spending advantage, which means get out to vote, phone calls, phone banking, door knockers, all the things that Stewart is not going to be able to compete with. So we'll see what plays out. We're with Matt Boyle. He's the political editor of Breitbart News. You can read Matt and read Breitbart. Download their app. Go to Breitbart.com. Go to your app store and download the Breitbart app. Must read every day. Matt Boyle with us. Matt, Mark Sanford runs around Washington blasting Trump, never Trumper, hates Trump, runs around his district, hates Trump, never Trumper, got kicked out. What do you think?
Well, first off, the establishment media last night was very soft at this, but if you were reading Breitbart the last month or so, we've been on top of this race. We've been at all sorts of inside coverage on this, so you weren't shocked that Katie Arrington, a real strong supporter of President Trump and a solid conservative, by the way, who's going to join the Freedom Caucus. That's what she says. She said it in an interview with me when she gets here to Washington. She will join the House Freedom Caucus. They don't have a woman in the Freedom Caucus right now, so this is going to be a big pickup for the conservative wing of the conference, which is a huge deal. And so anyway, she's a solid Trump supporter, and Mark Sanford is a never Trumper. And so Mark Sanford has accused President Trump of being, this is his words, partially to blame. He said that Trump is partially to blame for the shooter of the congressional baseball practice. If you remember that, when that left House Majority Whip Steve Scalise critically wounded, right? She also, Mark Sanford also sided with the media on the whole Stormy Daniels madness. He's attacked the president over Charlottesville, all sorts of different things that he has thrown in with the media and the left. And he runs to CNN to criticize President Trump whenever he can. And that came back to bite him. The voters in South Carolina's 1st Congressional District really sent a stunner to Washington, D.C. last night by rejecting Sanford's never Trump tendencies and electing Katie Arrington, who's a real solid choice. She's got a heck of a backstory herself. She actually really came from almost nothing to where she is today. So there was one point she was working a graveyard shift in a Denny's to really get her start in life, and so she didn't come from big South Carolina money or something like that. She's a true working class warrior, and she is, I think, going to be a real star when she gets to Washington to the House conference, and I think she's going to be a difference maker.
I tell you what, it is a great night when you can get somebody that came up from nothing, that had to work at a Denny's at midnight to make ends meet and start a career and then go to Congress. America's a beautiful thing, especially beating a weasel never Trumper like Mark Sanford. You know what? Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out, as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't stand the guy. And to me, the whole night was worth that. But you're right, Matt. You guys were following this, and you were saying she had a shot. Everybody else was saying Sanford was going to win 65-35, right? 2-1 blowout. She had no chance. She was being outspent 15-20-1. But, people in that district, they just had enough. And it goes to emphasize the support this president has amongst grassroots Republicans. They see the progress he's making. They see the fake news. They see what he's up against, right? And they went out and, they kicked out an incumbent with, 100% name recognition. He used to be their governor, and it was a very tough campaigner, spent a lot of money, establishment behind him. They kicked him out. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's the real story of 2018, not just in this race, but all across the country, is that I don't think it's a blue wave brewing. I think it's that the American people want to send allies, brothers in arms, and sisters in arms up to Washington, D.C. to help President Trump get more of his agenda done, because they see all the successes that are happening economically. We look at what happened in Montana. You've got Matt Rosendale. You've got Patrick Morrissey in West Virginia. I mean, these guys have really good shots in the general elections. Mark Harris down in North Carolina beat Robert Pittenger. There's more people that are going to be on. There's the cavalry's coming. The reinforcements are on the way for President Trump after these midterm elections, and I think there's going to be a very different Republican Party when we wake up in November 2018, and when all these guys are sworn in January 2019. But the fact of the matter is, this is also a big win for President Trump, because I think President Trump made a huge difference yesterday when he tweeted out his endorsement of Katie Arrington and his criticisms of Mark Sanford. I think that may have made the difference and put her over the top. She won by less than a full percent by avoiding the runoff. Sanford was down at like 45% or something when all the votes were in. But she, to avoid the runoff, she needed to get more than 50%, and she did. She won outright last night. That's a huge deal to win outright against a sitting congressman, especially like Sanford, with all that name ID and recognition in the state. And I think that's a huge rejection of everything that Sanford's been doing to criticize the president, and hopefully that these establishment Republicans on Capitol Hill will take the right message away from this and actually start getting on board and getting in line and getting with the program here. It's time to get on with the Make America Great Again agenda.
Well, look, great night for Katie Arrington beating Mark Sanford. And you look forward to this, Matt. A month ago, I thought the Republicans had zero chance of maintaining the House. In fact, less than zero. Today I put it at even money. That's a huge turnaround. And I do that because of the economy and because Republicans are starting to come back. I'm starting to sense some enthusiasm for the great success this president has had. And the only way you're going to continue that is by getting out on November 8th of 2018 and allowing the Republicans to maintain control of the House. Otherwise, the Trump agenda is going to get stopped dead in his tracks. He's going to be fighting impeachment for God knows what stupid things the Democrats come up with. How do you assess right now, Matt, going forward into the midterms?
Yeah, I think I don't know if I would go. It's definitely at least even money for Republicans. It might even be better than that.
Even money.
The generic ballot has swung significantly in Republicans' favor. It also against the Democrats. It's also if you look at the overall big picture of what President Trump is doing. It's a massive success. The economy is booming in every respect, and the most important economic number is that wages are rising. People have more money in their pocket. So ultimately, there's a choice on the ballot in November. First off, every race is going to be a battle between Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi. Every race, House, Senate, governor, everything. If you vote for Trump, if you vote for the Republican, you're voting for Trump and his agenda. If you vote for the Democrat, you're voting for Nancy Pelosi to take over Congress. And I don't think she's very popular. I don't think people like her very much. The second most important thing is that, as I mentioned, the wages number. Again, if you're going to vote for the Democrat, you're voting for less money in your pocket, right? Like, if a Republican means more money for you, it means a better chance for you economically. It means a better opportunity for you economically. We're seeing that work. People are seeing more money in their bank accounts. I've talked to all sorts of different people who aren't in politics on a day-to-day basis over the course of the past several months. And the thing they keep saying is, well, sometimes the president's style doesn't necessarily get along with me. I've got more money in my bank account. I've got more opportunities. My kids have a better chance at a job when they get out of college. Well, that's because President Trump's economic nationalism vision is working. Then also you put that together with all the trade deals and the negotiations and the summit with North Korea and everything. The big picture vision here is Republicans are the future of this country, and hopefully they can hold the majority in the House. And I think they have a really good chance of doing so, and picking up a lot of Senate seats.
Well, look, I think they're going to gain seats in the Senate. Let's talk about one Senate seat, West Virginia. How is Joe Manchin still ahead? Morrissey, Attorney General, great guy, very conservative, pro-Trump, was the nominee there, not one of the other candidates who would have been a disaster. And you look at the recent poll numbers that came out, and Manchin's up by 10, and I thought it was a typo when I looked at it. How does Manchin maintain this lead?
Polls out of West Virginia, so I don't know which ones to believe and which ones not to at this point.
Right.
But first of all, Patrick Morrissey, I think, it's going to be a really close race in November, and the reason being is it's because Joe Manchin does such a good job of highlighting the handful of times he sided with the president. Where it matters, though, on things like tax reform, on things like that, he hasn't been there with Trump. So the question is Manchin going to be able to effectively deceive the voters of West Virginia into believing that he's an ally of the president when it matters or not? And he's a sharp guy. He's a sharp politician. I know Joe. I've interviewed him before. He's a fierce competitor. So I think the West Virginia race is going to be a lot tighter than people want. But Patrick Morrissey is a solid guy, and I think he would be a real ally for the president and his agenda. So I think that one's going to be a real a battle for the ages there.
What about Missouri Claire McCaskill?
Claire McCaskill's in serious trouble. She opposes the president even on things where she probably shouldn't, where she could get along with him. She does not running the Joe Manchin campaign. She's running the Hillary Clinton campaign. And so Claire McCaskill is in serious trouble. Attorney General Josh Hawley is very likely to be the Republican nominee for Senate in that seat. And he's a really somebody to watch, I think, as you watch that race. I think that Claire McCaskill is in some serious trouble. If you look at polling, she's definitely the most endangered Democrat incumbent in a year of the endangered Democrat incumbents all across the country. So I think, if I'm Claire McCaskill, I'm definitely worried about what's going to happen in November.
All right. That is your analysis here from Matt Boyle. He's on our show every week, and he's going to be bringing you his analysis of these races as we go forward into November. Matt Boyle, the political editor of Breitbart News. Download their app. Go to breitbart.com. Download their app, or just go to their site, breitbart.com. Every day you can get their updates. You can also sign up for their morning newsletter, which I get too. So all Breitbart, all good. Matt, good to see you. Good to have you back from Louisiana, man.